Welcome everybody to Getting to Green. My name is Kevin, and today I want to talk about testing your code. Luckily, you are most likely already testing your code, but you're probably manually testing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're still probably going to be doing that while you're writing code. You want to make sure what you're doing is right and looks right and feels right. So you're going to be doing that manually. There's no substitute for it. But unfortunately, it's not something that scales very well. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a registration form for your website, so somebody can come and register to your website. Well, there's a couple of fields there, right? You're going to need a username, an email address, a regular name, a password. You need to confirm the password. Maybe those 5 fields alone. Maybe you don't even allow for a username. So let's just simplify it. You have a name and an email, a password, and confirm your password. All right, well, that's great. So you test that out. It goes right into the database, and you're fine. Well, you also want to validate certain things, right? You want to make sure that it's a valid email. You want to make sure that it's a unique email. You don't want anybody signing up with the same email address. That'll be kind of messy, right? You're going to want to make sure that the name is required. Maybe a minimum of 3 characters for a name. There's a lot of different little variations here. So, it's going to get very tedious to test all that yourself, because you're going to have to, have all of the correct stuff for the rest of the form. So if you're testing a regular name input, that's required and has a minimum of 3 characters and maybe a maximum of whatever you want to do. Maybe 80 characters max for whatever reason. That's up to you. But you have to make sure that that works. So you're going to have to have the email address correct, a correct password, and the correct confirmation password, but you're going to leave the name out. It's going to be blank. All right, well, try it out. It fails. Good, it should, right? Then you go and you're like, all right, I entered 2 letters into the name. Well, that should fail also, right? Because it's not 3. We have a minimum of 3. So, all right, that failed too. Great. So now you go put in a couple of letters. It works. It redirects you and everything. Now you got to go back. You got to create a brand new email because it should be unique, right? And, now you want to test that, make sure that, 81 characters can't be written into the name. So you have to go through all that. So that's just one input. That's 4 different things you're testing. It's required. Where's my hand? It's required. It's has a minimum of 3, length of 3. It has a maximum of 80. Required, min, it's 3. I'm sure there's other things you can test for. But then the email address, you have to test that that's a valid email address, that it is unique, right? It's required. And the password is required. You're going to require it to be probably have certain characters in it. So it can't just be ABC123. You want something a little bit more robust in your application, right? So those are things you're going to have to test for, and it's going to wind up really getting kind of complicated. And if you're manually testing this, it's very easy to forget something, or later on when you update it, maybe the client or your boss or even you decide that people should have usernames on top of all this. So now you have to add another field there, and that field is going to have all the same stuff, and you want to make sure that you didn't introduce some kind of regression into your application by removing validations that you had for other things. It's most likely not, but it's a possibility. Also, there's bugs that you can introduce, and you don't want those in your code. So bugs are gross. Everybody knows that. Yucky. So you want to have these automated tests. They kind of, they watch your back, and it's really cool because it's like having a little buddy going, that doesn't look right. Are you sure you want to do that? This is wrong, so that's why testing is so important. Also, testing, there's a lot of different verbiage that gets thrown around, right? So you have, for backends, there's a lot of, you have your unit tests, your feature tests, your integration tests, your integration tests, your functional tests. Nobody knows what functional tests are, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And for front end, you have your end-to-end tests, your unit tests too, component tests. So a bunch of different types, So what are you supposed to be testing, and how do you go about it, right? What's the right way to, test out the new feature that you wrote? Do you want to test it from beginning to end? Do you want to really zoom in on it and get very nitty-gritty with it? It really depends. So in the next video, we're going to go over a couple of different types of tests and what they're really for and why they're defined the way they are. Stick around. So, hey, if you like this and you want to do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe, I wouldn't mind.